Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast. This podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Boy, I bet they're busy these days.
I would say so. And good. If you need someone, reach out and they will definitely take care of you.
Yes.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Yes. That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. Level, a lot going on still. It's kind of that summertime where usually there's not as much, but heck, we got movement with the softball team, a basketball matrix out, got plenty of football questions in, Ben Henshall conversation. Heck, Father's Day just happened. Joey Chestnut is back. I mean, wherever you want to take it, we could.
Joey Chestnut is back. Where did he leave to?
Oh, he missed last year's hot dog eating contest because of the whole.
I'm not.
He was sponsored by non-meat foods.
Okay, yeah,
Plant-based stuff.
Whatever. We're not going to waste anybody's time by talking about some of that. We'll save that for the July 4th week.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, it is a lot going on. I do think maybe you'll hit a bit of a lull here in the next couple of weeks-ish before, because it's about 3 weeks away from Big 12 Media Days, I guess. And I think a lot of the conference news is out. I think right now recruiting is still hot and heavy for Coach McGuire. Obviously, softball has been portaling. That's been a thing. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but that's been something that's going on as I look into my camera here and kind of smirk. Yeah, bit of a dust up or several out there on the interwebs about Texas Tech portaling as it relates to softball. Whatever, man. That's been going on. Yeah, we have more of a honed in idea on the hoop schedules.
Yes.
So we've got some of that, but yeah, and you're only, as I sit here and talk to you, Woodman, I want to say that I could be off by a day or so. And again, depending on when people consume this or listen to this,
right,
watch it, whatever, you're only about 74-ish days away, I think is right, from college football.
Yeah,
and specifically Texas Tech. You actually get college football before that, so that would be more in the mid 60s on the day count. But
yeah, we get Farmageddon in Ireland this year. So.
Yeah, which we'll talk about that as that gets closer.
Sure,
but that's a lot really fast. That game, I don't know if I would be super pumped about that if that was Texas Tech involved. If that was like
really?
Texas Tech and TCU on August the 23rd, I think I'd be the right word is like nervous, but uneasy maybe.
If it was a conference game, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, which this one is.
Yeah.
This one absolutely is, and could absolutely affect right out of the gate on August the 23rd. It could affect who plays in Arlington or not, because those are two teams that are in that upper tier, and somebody's taking an L, and it's like we hadn't even broken fall camp yet. It doesn't feel like.
Yeah. Heck, TCU has it the following year, right? But that's a non-conference game, if I remember correct.
Yeah, they played North Carolina.
Yeah, so that
they gave up their home game.
Yeah. I mean,
they're playing they're playing at North Carolina. I think it's on. Is it like the Sunday or Monday night of the first weekend? I think of Labor Day weekend or whatever.
Yep.
And then the return game that they would have been owed. They farmed it out, and I guess they're going to take some money for it to go to play in Ireland and play in week 0 or whatever it is. So yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned a lot of different things there, Level. Let's start with the softball stuff. Knock that out up front. But softball is getting a lot of attention. some of it negative, but getting coaches to tweet about Texas Tech softball that aren't Texas Tech coaches, and a lot of movement since you and I last talked. A couple of bigger names go into the portal, Reagan Jennings and Bailey Lindemuth into the portal for Texas Tech, but you've reaped quite a few out of the portal. Three All-Americans, definitely a pitcher to spell Nigeri Kennedy to help you out there. So it Texas Tech has shown they are not going anywhere, and it has upset a lot of people.
Yeah, so Woodman, I've been covering recruiting, like specifically Texas Tech, since around 2002. So I'm going on, from covering this beat or being familiar with this
Sure.
situation with Rivals.com and all that stuff that I do with RedRaidersports.com since 2002. And, I've seen a lot. It was kind of, I get on the early stages of the internet covering recruiting and all that stuff. What pleased me so much about the chatter out there in the last week to 10 days or whatever, as it relates to the softball and transfer and tampering, unethical, broken the sport. I mean, all this stuff. Or or they're crushing it. There was obviously lots of positives too.
Right.
Loading up, all
Sure. Sure.
the yin and the yang on how this was termed, on the movement that you were, their version of "I will" was happening, right? We
Right.
had the football version of that, and then this was
Exactly.
the softball version of it. The chatter you are hearing should tell you only one thing. If you're on the tech side of these things, it really should tell you only one thing, and that is you're doing really well. For it to ruffle the feathers of everyone involved, it really points to, ooh, okay, must have gotten the right player coming in here. If
Yeah.
people are like, if people are willing to like step on out there and say things and speak about, I know nobody didn't break any rules, but we really need to take a long, hard look at the way that this, hey, don't be mad at the rules. Texas Tech broke no rules. I'll just look right into the camera again. You broke no rules. You can claim gray area. You can claim, oh man, you shouldn't be doing it. Hey, then create a different set of rules. They played by the
Exactly.
rules, and these are the rules that were in place. They played by them. They exercised their right to play by them and
Yep.
spent money and and acquired like an all-star team. The end. If you
Sure.
are mad about it, if you're at Tennessee, if you were at Florida, if you were at, I don't know, help me out here. If you're at UCLA, if I've
UCLA,
missed,
Southern
if I've missed,
Illinois.
yeah, Southern Illinois. If you're at one of these places and you got an old burr up your saddle about losing your player, then my advice to you would be take better care of them. Pay them better, coach them better,
Yeah.
love them more. Why would you give anybody a reason to leave? In Tennessee, you don't just need a third baseman, but on your softball team, you need a new quarterback too. So you kind of had you fumbled the ball repeatedly. You need to work on your ball security up there in Knoxville. All these people pointing and like the last person I want to hear from about anything Texas Tech softball related is Craig Snyder, the former coach.
Yep.
I find it very ironic and awfully, glass house, stone, pot, meat, kettle, all the things, right? That we're going to claim how we're gonna make lots of claims. I'll just leave it at
Oh,
that.
sure.
And
Sure.
and yet when he was in the midst of negotiating to try to keep the job here, he wanted his wife to be on staff. He wanted an extra position created. I think he was told, "Now we're not really doing that, but if you want to hire, go for it." And he was trying to, leverage it. And then he was not really totally being too forthcoming about what was going on at Tennessee. And then basically it's like, yeah, I think I'm going to take this job. And then it's like an announcement's already out. Like it was all
Sure.
being done behind the scenes and all that stuff. I just think it's pretty rich. And I would just say that Karma remains undefeated, coach. Karma remains undefeated. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So sorry for going on a bit of a rant there, but the whole thing is it's something.
I mean, and the whole glass houses thing. You don't think Josh Heupel's over there saying, "Hey, we you might slow up on those accusations because if we say see a player over here at Utah State that we really like, like we have people contacting them to bring them in or have some. I mean,
Well,
I think it's so new to the
they
sport.
were they contacted they contacted what, the Kansas State quarterback, they contacted
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Arizona State quarterback, they contacted the TCU quarterback, they contacted, I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
they were shopping like who somebody take our money, and they got turned down by
a lot,
plenty.
a lot.
Um, and so I never thought I'd have some sort of. I've always been indifferent to Tennessee.
I have to. Yeah,
They've always been my favorite of the UTs. Okay, right?
sure.
It's right. I mean, I've always preferred their
Well, yeah,
color of orange compared to the other one.
yeah, yeah.
But
Not
yeah,
setting the bar
man.
really high there, but yeah,
Right, right. But I mean, geez, man, it's
yeah,
like so. Anyway, I just the whole thing is. It's something. What you've done is you've put yourself on the radar. You are a polarizing softball program this offseason. I don't know whether it plays out that way next year. My guess is it probably does. The expectations could theoretically be off the charts slash unrealistic. Okay.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I think preseason number one is well within
Sure it
reach. I
is.
think certainly preseason top five and the whole deal. Um, I think there will be plenty of people pointing at you and wanting you and rooting for you to fail.
Yeah,
Because you LA Dodgers this deal.
you did. Yeah,
That's what you did. And I for one, and this is the truth. I for one have enjoyed what the Dodgers have done. I've kind of witnessed it from afar. I don't have a dog in the race. I'm a Rangers fan.
yeah,
I've enjoyed watching them just try to just acquire the best that they could. And it bothers Astro fans, it bothers Yankee fans, it bothers, whatever. And so that's maybe what just drawn me to it is I'm like, okay, it bothers this many people, then I'm whatever. So and that's kind of what you did. So some will stand back and applaud and root for you, and others will go, oh, they're everything that's wrong with this deal. So,
sure.
and then root against you. But Texas Tech softball, when that's mentioned, it will create a feeling
It will.
from people out there one way or the other. It won't be indifference anymore.
Yeah, yep. I think you nailed it. And like you said, top five preseason, I think is a lock. I think there's all sorts of. You could absolutely be number one in the preseason, but you're going to have a major target on your back all throughout the season. You're not going to sneak up on anybody next year. So, Level, you mentioned recruiting. It is a big recruiting time for Texas Tech athletics, or for Texas Tech football, pardon me. Um, and there was a question. This one lands from Sam. It says, I keep seeing Tech hosting a lot of high four stars at camp and on campus, but are we going to be able to land any?
Should be able to, and then part of the deal is with you. All of these kids have a ton of visits crammed into the month of June.
Yeah.
They're going from one to the next to the next to the next. I mean, some of these kids are like going somewhere for 4 straight weekends, squeezing some visits in the middle of the week, um, whether it's camps or officials or whatever. And typically, the higher profile kids that you deal with, the slower the process goes with them. Hey, man, I'm
Yeah.
gonna take all my stuff and then sit back, or I'm gonna go ahead and commit on July the 4th and get through the month of June and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So that's part of the deal. You will be able to land some, yes, absolutely. They are harder to land because you're fighting for, I mean, that's just it's the LSUs and the Alabamas and the
Right.
Texases and the Georgias that fill up a class full of four stars. In some years, you've been able to get one
Right.
or two So, but it's certainly a sign of progress that the bulk of your recruiting visits are filled up with high profile players like this.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I think obviously you'll continue to see that, especially if you have successes on the field. Speaking of successes on the field, there's a question specifically to have you seen this year's FPI, the Football Power Index from ESPN? So they
Yes.
okay, so there was a question about it because I believe I saw that on chances to win the Big 12, they give Texas Tech the seventh best chances. One says, Level, can you explain how the FPI works
No.
and why Texas Tech is ranked so much lower than most people are ranking them with the FPI?
Yeah, this is their metric. This is something that is it is they have created.
Hmm.
They've tried to build like a I mean this is the equivalent of like the net ranking or
Hmm.
Ken Palm
Yep.
is like the basketball analytics data that is created that is now referenced and now utilized. This is their attempt at that. And again, this is something that the CFP going forward, like, I'm not going to try to transition the topic, but it kind of bleeds over into the same conversation.
Sure.
The 5-11 model that you've heard a lot about,
Yeah.
hey man, the five top champions and then 11 at large. One of the problems with the 11 at large is that how are they going to determine the criteria for the at large? Because there is no analytic out there that everybody points to and looks to that everybody trusts
Hmm.
because it is so imperfect. Schedules are imperfect. You don't even have everybody playing the same conference games.
Right.
You have these people in these one conferences that don't even play the best teams because of the way it's structured. So that's why it's darn near impossible to try to. So what gets factored into this is returning production. Well, and like Texas Tech's case, you have some returning production, but are they counting returning production at other places? I mean, is that as heavily weighted or is that discounted?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the problem. Because I believe that that's the way that this is factored in is like Coy Aiken would get full credit and Caleb Douglas get full credit for everything that they did at Texas Tech last year. But like I think Reggie Virgil only gets like half credit for what he did,
Right.
because he played at a lower level and all that. So they've tried to create this metric. And again, it's imperfect. And you can like look at it. And if I was at the top of it, I'd probably look at it and go, heck yeah, man. And then when you're seventh, I'd probably like go, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, like we're doing here.
Right.
To each his own. Um, but it's a very imperfect way to try to grasp what what everybody's expected outcomes are going to be, and
Well,
there's just no perfect way to do it.
I do think if you've paid attention to it over the last few years since FPI or since ESPN's been doing it, it's a lot more accurate, or does seem to be a lot more accurate after there's some data in the system. After you've had 6 or 7 weeks of football of actually seeing things on the field, then the FPI rankings tend to line up with what you've seen with your eyeballs a
What
lot
is
better too.
do you have the because one it's absolutely done exactly what its intention was is to get people like you and I to talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have it in front of you?
I am pulling it up as we speak. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me where Arizona State ranked?
So let's see.
Like as
For
far as the Big
just
12
just in the Big 12, Arizona State was second.
and was Kansas State first?
Kansas State was first.
Yeah, because these are the two teams that brought the most
They
people
returned.
back
Yep.
off of their team, and they weigh into that.
Yes.
Um,
So,
I just
but the league as a whole does not get a lot of love for whatever reason. Kansas State's the first ranked team, but they're 21st nationally.
right.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's this is the same thing as like recruiting rankings
Hmm.
It's eye of the beholder. It's explain to me how you put this together, and well, that's going to benefit some people's situation better than others. I think that like everything, like recruiting rankings and like FPI and like everything, the portal has a hard time factoring into these equations
Yeah,
because nobody has a real way to do it and sink their teeth into it to where it gives it teeth. And in some ways, it's kind of like a preseason all conference team, which we'll get in 2 or 3 weeks.
true. Very
How do
true.
you like how do you determine like who should be first team all conference? Well, he was really good in the Pac-12 last
Exactly.
year,
Yeah.
or the Big Ten last year, or the ACC last year, or the whatever. I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, and so okay, well, and then we're gonna say, okay, his season. Let's for example, let's take like Lee Hunter.
Yeah.
He was second team All Big 12. Well, if last year, so I mean, he's back and he's on a really good team and the whole deal, and like he should at least be second team preseason this year. But how does his what if like an All SEC or even a second team SEC or Big Ten D tackle comes into this deal?
Right.
Okay, how do we compare them? And then so there's some but again, it's all about creating talking points.
Which they have.
We wasted or didn't waste. We invested 10 minutes of our sweet time in talking about FPI.
That's fair.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so there you
Okay, let's shift over to basketball before we run out of time level. So we got basketball Matrix. This is not a movie. This we've those of you that are listening, not viewing levels, giving us some Keanu Reeves moves there. Very nice. Red pill or blue pill level? Which one are you going with?
go.
So basketball matrix, we learn who Texas Tech's opponents are on the at home only, road only, and then you get Houston, BYU, and Colorado are the three that you will play at home and away. There was a question. We'll start with a question that says, "Level, if you could change any single thing about the Texas Tech schedule that we learned from the Matrix, what would your change be?" So I guess you could flip a home or away, or give us a different home and away setup.
Okay, for very selfish reasons, I just must admit this.
Okay.
You could have sent another team here, and I would have loved to have gone to Stillwater for one last time to see my kid.
Well, I wanted that one because I think that's still more of a rivalry than Colorado, yet it's still kind of the same level of team in that same tier based off of what they were last year. That's what I was hoping for because we got the leaks of BYU and Houston. Kind of got that news a day before the rest of it came out, and I was hoping that last one would be Oklahoma State. So, but I understand your selfish reasons. Totally, totally get that. But what was your reaction to the overall bracket schedule matrix release?
Um, I I was very fascinated by the how they were going to do this as far as the home and homes is what I was most interested in. As some of these started to leak and you get hit with BYU and Houston, I was like, whoa.
Which are maybe the top two teams outside of
Potentially,
Texas Tech.
I think that Texas Tech and then the other two teams are are thought to be in all these preseason top 25s or top 10s, whatever.
Hmm.
They are all listed.
Yep.
Pick your order, but Houston may in fact be the preseason number one.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, so there's four games that are potentially top teners right there, or
Hmm.
certainly relevant nationally.
Absolutely.
Um, so I was curious what everybody would get along these lines. And And they gave you a bit of a, I don't, it's not necessarily, I don't know who you were hoping for to get to like catch the break. I mean, Colorado, they weren't very good last year. However, Tad Boyle had that team in the NCAA tournament the year before,
Right.
and you didn't exactly have your way with them when they came here at the end of the season and, and all that stuff. But this was your, okay, we're going to do this to you, but we're going to take care of you over here. So whatever.
Sure. Sure.
But it was pretty clear that they tried to schedule toward the expected standings, I think is fair.
Felt that way. Yep.
Yeah, what we're hearing is that this is going to be something that changes every year. You're going to get a new version of this, yearly basis. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that to be because, but I guess I'm here for it. I think that they're trying to um, keep it fresh, keep it important, keep the TV folks happy. But this way it certainly makes it more difficult to win a conference championship.
Yeah. I think absolutely it does.
Yeah.
But from a viewing standpoint, if you're not a fan of these teams, it's like, wow, there's some great matchups we're going to get to watch. So,
Yeah, and having said that, it makes it more difficult and all that stuff. Um, I mean, Houston went through this deal at 19-1 last year.
nuts.
So yeah. So I mean, it's hard to feel sorry for anybody, whoever you are. I mean, they
Sure.
they rolled through the whole deal, full scale, home and homes with everybody, 19-1. They had some injuries, they just kept pushing, and so
I do think they got it right by putting Tech and Houston together because I think that's at least, I mean, from the games we saw last year and what we've seen out of those two teams, there's still a regional component to it. I think it would have been a miss if they didn't put those two together on the.
yeah, I mean, and as I just so I'm clear here, as I look at this deal, um, I don't mind the trip to Arizona because it's I have a feeling that you may knock those games out in one trip.
Okay.
It wasn't like that this year. That's when you did the Utah thing and you
Sure.
went and knocked out the two games in the state of Utah on a Saturday, Tuesday. You did have to play at Arizona and Arizona State this year. They were spread out, but I have a feeling that this particular trip you could get sent there on another Saturday, Monday, or Saturday, Tuesday scenario, and knock them out. I think it's worth pointing out that Coach McCaslin will deal with this is a small, um, road trips to Waco to see his mentor, and then road trip to West Virginia to see his mentee
Yeah.
in Ross Hodge. I
Yep.
think that was interesting to note. Like the trip to Ames is difficult. I'm glad I don't have to go to either place in Kansas. I'm glad I don't have to go to Cincinnati because their chili sucks. They put cinnamon in that crap, and I'm not
Eat
here
it.
for it. No, it's terrible. I've done it, checked it off the box, never again. Um, Anywho, so there was just some interesting. I mean, you're to have like with what's expected to have like BYU, Houston, and Kansas on your home schedule,
Yeah.
because those are going to be premium matchups. But your home schedule in general could have been a bit better. I mean, Utah, TCU, Oklahoma State,
Yeah.
Oklahoma State should be better. They portaled, and Coach Lutz's program should be much better. Obviously, Kansas State, PJ Haggerty. They added one of the top talents in the portal from Memphis, and so Cincinnati. So anyway, I mean, Baylor and Iowa State would have triggered more than some of these other folks if you
Right.
were getting them at home, and then Colorado at home won't do anything. I do hope though that our fan base, because they're going to get two chances this year, and these are going to be extremely meaningful. In fact, one of these may be the most or the biggest home game you have in football. But I think you need to, if my advice to Tech fans, and I think you and I too, Woodman,
Yeah.
we need to lean into the BYU thing.
I agree.
They are it's there's a little more meaning to that one. There's a little spiciness to it. They're playing the NIL game. They accused you of spitting last time. Yes, they go feed you donuts and give everybody ice cream,
Yeah,
but they also act a certain way, kind of too. Their
I agree.
teams do, and they're nationally relevant in both sports, like very much so. Um, so I think that this needs to become one of the bigger, more celebrated, more kind of like grit your teeth a little bit. Like I want to be at this game. I want a piece of these guys. Shout out to Cosmo. It's nothing against you, man. All the respect in the world, sir.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think you
Cosmo and the donut that they hand out or whatever. I'll never besmirch the reputations of either thing. Okay. However, the rest
just
of it,
just the rest
yeah,
of the BYU.
right, yeah, you got it.
I think you're exactly right, Level. I think there are two, as far as brand power, alumni base, and NIL spending. These are right now are the two top in the Big 12 to try to be that power in the Big 12.
Because
So
you know what other school got accused of tampering in the last 2 months?
BYU.
BYU did.
Whoa,
Yep.
whoa,
I
whoa,
mean,
whoa. That's got
so
to be against some sort of moral code of conduct, right? Can't tamper.
well, speaking of moral codes of conduct, yeah, their quarterback finds himself in a
Whoa.
bit of a scenario there. Yeah. I
We're
mean,
going to learn on that.
in all seriousness though,
Yep,
that's
no,
yeah.
that could have a
Yeah.
huge effect on how the league is projected.
That is maybe okay from a there's lots of league stuff,
Hmm.
but and we may get the answer to this well before it. Okay, so we've
Sure.
got, as we mentioned, about 3 weeks. That is maybe the number one team specific storyline
Agreed. Yep.
of Big 12 Media
Media
Days
days.
is
Yep.
what is the status of Jake Retzloff? Yeah, so
Yep. I'm with you.
because they go from contender or top 20 team, or this was an 11 win team last year with a lot back, to if he's still there and cleared, or yeah, like what now, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like just like that. So
Yeah. No doubt.
depending, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, great point because be interesting to watch that, at least even as media days or we lead up to media days. All right. So Ben Henshall Level announces, depending when you're listening to this, a few days ago, that he is out of the or withdrawing from the NBA draft. We had a question from a listener specific to Henchel. Is he a done deal for Texas Tech, or is his eligibility still in question?
No and yes. Um, yeah, he's not a done deal. Even if he commits and everybody throws a parade and everybody gets excited, it's still not a done deal. I think. I mean, Grant McCaslin talked about it. I mean,
Hmm.
on Friday about this past Friday, I should say, at the end of last week, about some hopeful on some additions. For sure, one maybe on another. Got some things to work through. He mentioned the word academics, and to which I say, man, I hope they could figure that out because I'm not here for the academics. I'm here for the sports. That's just my selfish outlook on it.
What? You're
I
not keeping
mean,
up with everybody's grades level?
there's some chemistry teacher out there going,
I know.
Chris Level is a horrible person.
Gosh,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'll tell you who does keep up with the GPAs is some of these head coaches that have some of that bonus stuff written into their contracts.
they do.
So
They do.
that's a true story. Um, yeah, so that is a wait and see. I do think he has a very soft place to land here if he decides to come to college. I think that they have been working through the academic
Mhm.
possibilities or and I would say to people out there listening, he could show up here and be a part of your team and not actually be eligible for a period of time. He could show up here and be eligible immediately. He could show up here and be part of your program and not be eligible until second semester. I mean, I would say that everything is on the table.
Sure.
I would say, well, why are you going through this? Because I think,
Worth it.
yeah, I think that the longer it takes to sort through this, the slower the process goes, the longer he's not in Lubbock. I mean, all that kind of delays the hope here on what he could do.
Yeah.
But this is an over the top piece. If given a real chance,
Yeah.
this is an over the top piece that I think takes you from top 10-ish to top 5-ish.
Fair.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think that they're trying to run out the ground ball as absolutely as fast as they can run down the first baseline. They're trying. They're just making sure how can we square peg round hole? Well, let's get a drill.
Yeah.
Let's make the square hole round or something. I don't know. You're trying.
So any timeline on when we could see a commitment if he's going to, or is that
I
just
mean,
still up in the
I
air?
would think it's so like the timetable I would offer up to you. We'll kind of go in stages, but I mean the next one is really like by second session summer school.
Okay.
I just as good as he may be, and as versatile as he may be, and all that stuff, you still need to get here and do what we do and learn our people and learn our
Right.
stuff and learn all the stuff and like and then the work on the school and the
Yeah.
whole deal. But I think that second session of summer school is in like early July, so you're a couple of 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, but you gotta have an announcement on his intention of where I'm going and this and that, and then he needs to get there. But like if he's not here by second session summer school and we haven't heard anything, yeah, I will not feel as great about it. But
Fair.
even then, you could still doesn't close the door. You can still, okay, well, let's just get here by the fall.
Yeah.
November 5th or whatever it is still a long ways away.
Sure. Sure.
But it just the longer it takes, the harder it is to play catch up and to kind of get acclimated and feel comfortable and all this stuff. But he is. I mean, this is a player that I think that they are trying to make it work.
Level, we have run out of time, bud.
Okay. Hey,
I
man,
appreciate you, bud.
sorry for rambling. Shout out to Cantex. Shout out to you, Woodman. Talk to everybody next time. Keep hope alive.
It's been the Ask Level podcast brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.